Hello and welcome back to another episode of my MotoGP 23 career mode, and today we're here for the 19th round of our full Moto3 season for the Malaysian Grand Prix. Now, if you didn't see the last episode, I do recommend you go check that one out before we do get into this one. Obviously, we had the Thai GP where we did a last to first challenge. The AI were ridiculously broken at that circuit. They were doing wheelies, they were running off the circuit in different places, they were crashing. It was very, very bizarre. So for that reason, we started at the back and slowly made our way through as the AI made mistakes. Obviously, we also overtook a lot of AI legitimately, but of course, the leaders especially, we sort of just passed them as they ran off the circuit as our pace was quite similar. Now, this episode is actually a bit of a special one because it is the first race that we've actually done previously in the career mode. If you think all the way back to when the game first came out, we of course started our debut season, and this was the first round, the Malaysian Grand Prix. So this is the first time we have a direct back-to-back with a previous season on the same bike as well, and I'm going to try the same AI difficulty that I tried back then, but probably going to do it a little bit differently than I did on that day one. So I'm actually going to do another last to first challenge this weekend. Now, the AI aren't broken like they were in Thailand, but they are quite slow, so I thought I'd just do another one because I quite enjoy them, to be quite honest. I find them quite interesting, and I think we still have a shot at trying to get a good result from the back of the grid. So without any further ado, we'll head into the race weekend now, and I'll see you on the grid for the Malaysian Grand Prix. So we're down here on the grid then, and of course I did forget to mention that we have the impossible objective of beating Diogo Moreira in the championship. We have to be ahead of him after 2 races, which is really impossible, but even if we had the rest of the season, we couldn't surmount him. He's too far in front of us, so it's a bit of a stupid objective to give us, but it is the MotoGP game. You do get some rather stupid things sometimes. But the one thing I did want to say before we do get into this race is that the fastest lap we did in the dry conditions in the debut season episode was a 2 minute 14.8. So bear that in mind when we're talking about lap times later on, just to gauge the level of improvement. I think it's quite an interesting thing to look at because, of course, this is the first race, like I said, that we've been to before. Now, it's actually quite unusual for a career mode that you build on the same bike, but of course, with us having the wild cards at the end of the previous season, it does allow us to return on the exact same bike. It is still a Vision Track Honda, so it is actually the same bike. Probably a bit quicker. It did get some upgrades mid-season, but probably not as many as I would have liked. But you can see we're on medium hard tyres here because there is no medium rear, so we've got to go for the hard tyre. It is the correct choice. The soft is just plain not going to work. So without any further ado, let's get this race started and see what we could do from 28th on the grid.
Who will celebrate victory in the Malaysian Grand Prix? Riders have completed their warm-up lap and are lined up on the Sepang grid, ready for the off.
So there's our rival, Moreira, on pole position. So that's what we've got to try and get to here from the back of the grid. But the lights are on, waiting for them to go out here for this Malaysian Grand Prix. They're holding for a while, lights out, and away we go. And you can see right there, 111 points is the gap if it stays as it is. Of course, that's with them gaining another 25. But even if we brought it back the other way, it would still be completely impossible. As we go down towards turn 1, just watch this around the outside. They're just so early on the brakes. This is why I did it. The frame rate has dropped quite a bit. I do apologise. I think it should recover though as we get through the next turn. But we're already up to P19, so we gained like 10 places already. And that was just one turn. So this is why I decided to do it, because the AI are just... they're just terrible on the brakes at every track, but especially this one. There's a few corners where you can probably gain over a second a lap on them overall over the whole lap. So there we are, up into P18. So we have now gained 10 places, and we're going to gain a few more into this turn. Up the inside of Stefano. Nepa, not quite. Nepa is just going to stay ahead. Now, in fairness to the AI, they are better than me through this next section. We are just going to out-drag Nepa to this corner, but they are just going to ride basically around the outside of me. You can see they can hold much tighter line. I think that was something we did struggle with on the debut season quite a lot. But what a difference a season makes. We get overtaken by Fallon. But you remember we were battling with Ana Carrasco at the back of the grid in the wet conditions here. Obviously, it's a 9-lap race as well. I did remember that because I remember that was a very long race to do in the rain. So it's another reason why I wanted to do a sort of last to first. Because 9 laps actually seems a lot at a circuit as long as this. But up the side of Nepa, up the side of Onshu, up the side of Rueda as well. And Joel Kelso, obviously our rival from earlier on the season. We had a few run-ins with him, and then he obviously beat us to that race win back at Kazakhstan. Well, I say beat us to it. He didn't really, it wasn't close. He was miles up the road, but it was one of those races where I was quicker than the rest of the AI, except one runaway leader. We're up into 12th place already, and you can see they are running very wide there. Sorry for the contact, but you can see they've just gone the complete wrong line compared to the rest of the AI. I got the inside of David Munoz as well. Just hope he doesn't turn in on me. He's not, although he's going to get the cut back because it probably was a bit of a silly move, to be fair. But there you go then, we're already up into 11th. We should be up into the top 10 by the end of this lap, which is why, again, I decided to start from the back, because it's just a bit more fun. I enjoy it quite a lot, to be quite honest with you. And up the inside we go, off Suzuki as well. This is on 120%, by the way. I did forget to mention that before, but yeah, it is on 120, which is actually what we did use in the debut season, as like I said, I wasn't actually aware of how good the AI are. But there we go, 8th place, 20 positions made up on the first lap, and we're going to make another one on Tatsuki Suzuki. I will turn the fuel mix down in a second as well, don't worry. I'm not going to run out of fuel like I did in Phillip Island. And up into P7, next up is Riccardo Rossi. I also just want to say as well, if we get to a track where the AI are quite good, like the next one, Qatar, I am going to start doing qualifying again. It's only at the circuits where they're quite poor. I'd rather fight through the pack a bit than be on pole and just pull away, because whilst their pace actually isn't too bad at this circuit, once they get into it, especially the leaders, they're similar lap times to me. If they're that slow on lap 1, I'd just pull out a lead and then manage it to the end, which is obviously not as interesting. That's the way you usually win these races in the MotoGP game career modes. You get out front early, then you could just stop them dive bombing you and stuff. I'll tell you what though, we've got Suzuki coming back at us. He's going to just ride through me. Yes, he is. So fortunately back down to 8th place, but we should be able to get him back in a second. I thought maybe to this turn, not quite, actually stuck on the outside of him. I wanted to go the inside, but he had a bit of a gap and I didn't want to commit to anything, so I thought I'd try to sweep around the outside. Didn't really work, but we should get him pretty easily into this hairpin. Up the inside we go. Oh, I've actually outbraked myself a little bit there. Well, you tell you what, we've just completely unintentionally passed Riccardo Rossi and Yamanaka there. Leading on Yamanaka, Yamanaka's going to get the place back, but to be fair, the one on Rossi was completely clean because I just drifted up the inside of him. I did have a little bit of contact with Yamanaka in fairness. Rossi back through. They are pretty good in this sector of the track. But just the braking zones is where they lose all the time. And apparently that turn, because again, the AI in front of me made a big mistake. And we're looking at the inside of Yamanaka. We're going to do what we did to Munoz, but this time probably pull it down a bit more because I'm not going to be as scared as him turning in because I know the line they take now. He's actually hung it around the outside. We should get him with that Palmo 3. I know I said I was going to turn the fuel down, but because we were still in a battle, I didn't want to do it yet. We can save fuel at the end. There's 9 laps. There's plenty of time to save the fuel, so no worries there. We close up massively to Ortola. We probably could have made a pass on him there. That's actually cost us quite a lot, I would say, because we had to pick up the bike a bit. But there you go, we're already in the lead group. We are 1.8 seconds off the race lead. Now that actually might be quite difficult to gain back as we come up towards the line. 2:13.9, so already a second underneath, and that's with AI battling. So we're like a second quicker than what we did in qualifying in the debut season. And into turn 1 we go around the outside of Ortola. Unfortunately there, Moreira made that move impossible. I know going around the outside is a bit unorthodox, but when they break that early into that turn, you're better off just taking the normal racing line and you just get a free pass. But because Moreira was there, we couldn't actually turn in, so wasn't able to pass Ortola on that occasion. Need to try and maximise this next turn because Riccardo Rossi's 6/10 behind. If I can get a good run through this turn, it should stop him. And we picked up a track limits warning, so yeah, we did get a good run through there. So much so that we got a penalty almost. But there you go then, we got a pretty good run, 8 attempts. He shouldn't be able to pass us in this section, so we could kind of take the lines that we want and not get held up too much. Although Holgado is stretching away a little bit, so we do need to try and dispatch the two in front of us as quickly as we can, although it's not much of a panic because we're still only on lap 3. That's the thing I like about actually doing these 50% races. I remember back in the day when we used to do sort of like 5 lappers, it's actually quite difficult to come from the back, but you could do it in a 50%, and up the inside we go, the pair of them into the hairpin, actually a bit wider than I wanted to be, but we've got them. We clipped that curb though, that's completely ruined us, so Moreira's going to come straight back underneath surely into this right-hander. Yes he is! Oh, we had to pick the bike up from him a bit, and so does Ortola. This is what I mean, I'm not exactly getting through the pack the best because I'm making a lot of mistakes. But the inside the pair, and we had to risk a lot there because again they're just so close, you have to try and pass 2 at once. But that should be it now. Moreira is trying to cut the inside, well he's just bashed us out the way. But we've passed Ortola, we'll easily get Moreira, probably slipstream him actually, so we won't even have to pass him on the brakes. And then we'll have a clear shot at Masia, who's ahead of him, and then obviously Holgado there off together, pulling away. They have actually pulled away from me on this lap, but of course we had a lot of AI interference, so once we get a clear lap on our own, we should be a lot faster. I mean, even this lap is a personal best because we didn't get held up into the last turn. So what's it going to be? It should be a 2:13.8, I would imagine. Yep, 2:13.8, so now we're a second quicker than what we did in the debut season. Actually, not as much as I was expecting. I thought we'd actually be even faster than that, to be quite honest. So another new fastest lap, 2:13.4, so this is more kind of the pace I did expect. We're gaining on Holgado and Masia in front, so we should be on course to catch them. Well, we're basically on the back of Masia now, but of course we've seen how much time you can lose behind the AI, and because they're so close together, it is going to be difficult to pass the pair of them, because they're close together, but not so close that I could pass them both at once, kind of like how I did with Moreira and Ortola. I'd kind of need to pass Masia through perhaps one corner and then maybe 2 or 3 corners later try and pass Holgado. I don't think I could actually outbrake them both, you see, which is going to make it a bit more difficult. So Masia is dropping back from Holgado a little bit now. We're almost at that range where, like, into the hairpin, I have to be a bit careful where I braked, because otherwise I was just going to run into the back of Masia. Even though you can see he's miles behind, but just the concertina effect, and because of the gain, you know, how much they lose on the brakes, I had to be a bit careful. Like, from this distance, we could be looking at maybe passing him into turn 1, I would say, which sounds a ridiculous thing to say, but we'll gain a lot into the last turn. Although we're actually about a second behind him, so maybe not, actually. We need to pull our finger out a little bit, because this actually wasn't a very good lap. We were right behind them at the start, but kind of lost a bit of touch now. Yeah, we're 4/10 off. I'm getting sucked in a bit into the corners. I think I'm not thinking I can gain on them and then break it too late. And if we don't start gaining on Holgado more, we are going to run out of time, to be fair, because we didn't gain on him at all that lap. Right, so we're right behind Masia now. Can we... I'm thinking about maybe moving to turn 4, but he's going to gain on us a lot through 3. If we pass a bit to 4, he'll just pass me back at 5 anyway. I mean, obviously that does leave us closer than maybe pass him up the hairpin, but still, it is one of the things that you need about half a lap to set up a move on the AI, because you have the advantage on the brakes, but they have the advantage in the turning by quite a way. That was quite risky there with the front end on the curb, but you can see we're underneath our time, so it was worth it. It gained quite well out of the last right-hander, and if we're really in touch to pass him at the hairpin, going to go for it up the inside of Masia. Oh, we've just about pulled it down, to be fair. He might get us on the exit though, he has. But usually they'd repass me into this right-hander anyway, so it's not really that bad. It's kind of just it stopped us from having that would cost us a lot of time, to be fair. But a bit wide through there. I don't quite have the grip I had earlier on in the race, so perhaps can't pull the moves in the same way. But if we carry the speed through that corner, something lake, we might be able to try and set up for the last corner. But you can see Holgado's just stretching away now. We need to dispatch a Masia as soon as we can. You see we're miles ahead of Holgado behind now, not Holgado, Moreira behind, sorry. Nearly 5 seconds ahead of him, so really us three are the class of the field by a decent way. I need to make sure I brake at the right point here. Instead of just trying to think, okay, I need to pass Masia, I need to think, what's the quickest way around this corner? If we could try and pick up the power, we should have him into turn 1 now. We're within range to have him in turn 1. This has been a better lap by a couple of tenths of a second. And you can see we're 1.7, so we have lost a little bit of time there to Holgado on that lap. We've got a bit of a slipstream here. We should be able to get this move done down towards turn 1, I would hope. On the brakes, up the inside of Jao and Masia we go. Try and aim for the apex. We've hit the apex pretty well there. And we're through. We're up into P2 then, so it's just Holgado between us and another race win now. But of course, Masia will still be a thorn on our side. He might get us back through turn 3, and if he doesn't, he'll be certainly attacking us into turn 5. Yeah, I see his front wheel. He's trying to go around the outside though. He's picked the wrong side, really. With your face, pulled the pass, but we should be able to get him back into here, I would imagine. Around the outside. Oh, I've turned it a bit too early. Trying to go around the outside of him there, and he's back up the inside, and we are losing hand over fist here. And we're about to go to the penultimate lap. I didn't realise how far into the race we are. Right, I'm sending it on Masia here. There's no way, I can't do it. I've just ran into the back of him. That was really clumsy. I apologise, guys. That was terrible, but we're past him now anyway. But yeah, that was absolutely awful. I just didn't pull to the inside. I don't really know what I was doing. I think I was too... I don't know. I don't have an excuse. That was just awful riding. I do apologise. And he's back through again. And that's it now. We're not going to win this race because the gap has got to 2 seconds. And we're going to have to put something special together. We're going to catch Holgado now. And again, we're having to risk so much just to get past Masia. And the thing is, we could probably catch... Well, we can't probably catch him. But even if we caught Holgado now, it's going to be difficult to pass him. Because whilst, yes, I have an advantage on the brakes, you see how much of an advantage they have in the corners. The fast ones especially. But we're ahead of Masia now going into the last turn. He might be able to pull alongside us maybe, but we should have him done now because we've got 2 very good corners for us coming up now. We've got the last corner, we gain a lot of time, and then the first corner, so that'll keep him out of range as long as we start riding well. I remember back on one of the first episodes I was going to turn the fuel down. I have not done that all race and we're still fine, so nothing to worry about there. 2:13.7 on that lap. Gap is 1.7 seconds, 7 tenths back to Masia. So Masia is no longer a threat. Just got to focus entirely on Holgado now. Well, I have took some insane amount of risks on this lap. You can see how much we're under. We might be in a position with this last corner to maybe just about catch him at the end of the last lap. It's going to be close with Daniel Holgado up towards the line. And we're about to start this final lap of the race. We've still got a second to catch on him, so it's going to be difficult. We're looking at the championship standings, but I don't have time to look at that. 2:12.7 for us on that lap. So there you go, 2 seconds quicker than what we did in the debut season. And we've just got to give it everything on this last lap now to try and get close enough to Holgado to pull a pass into that probably last corner of the race. I don't think we're going to be able to pass him anywhere else. So I give it absolutely everything on this lap. You can see we're just too far behind. In fact, if anything, he's probably upped his pace on this final lap and pulled away a little bit from us. But you can see we put 5 seconds into Masia in about 2 laps, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And as we pushed the front end every last little bit through that last corner, the front was completely gone there. The rear stepped out as well. But Holgado deservedly wins the Malaysian Grand Prix. We come home in 2nd place. But it was so close to victory, really. I mean, look at us compared to the rest of the field. I had the fastest lap by a long way. I mean, it's saying something when I've kept the fastest lap, even with the simulated times. So we did a very good job there, but we were literally 10 seconds clear of like the rest of the field. Don't know what happened to Masia. He was like 5 seconds behind me entering the last corner, but he's like ended up 9 seconds behind me, which is just ridiculous. I don't even know what happened. I don't know why he dropped off so much, but oh, I tell you what, we lost too much time with him. It was Masia really that cost us there. I thought when we were sat in 3rd place, we were sort of sat in a good spot, but Masia then kind of cost us a lot when we tried to pass him. Then I had just too much work to do to catch Holgado. Obviously, we pretty much got onto the back of him, but our pace was quite similar to the riders at the front. You can see his best lap was a 13.2. Obviously, I did a 12.7 at the end, but he was quicker than me basically the entire race except the last couple of laps, because I was obviously just lapping a little bit slower than him. But hopefully he did enjoy that one, because you don't often get a final lap race in these career modes, although to be fair, it wasn't really a final lap battle because we were too far behind, but I was throwing everything at it. And if you look at the back of the field, we've got 36.9 seconds back to David Alonso, which is just absolutely unbelievable. It's a ridiculous gap. We were really fast. I am disappointed to have lost out on that one, but I really enjoyed the race, so, you know, it's not too bad. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not fighting for a championship anymore, so there's not really much point going for glory, going for wins from pole at the front. I may as well just enjoy the race. But speaking of the championship, let's see what that has done. It's helped Holgado out quite a bit, actually. So this battle is still raging on between the two of them. We gained decent points on Moreira, to be fair, which is the guy we did have to beat. He's now 17 points clear then of Holgado, 79 clear of us, so we're back below that magic 80. But of course, we're already out of contention of the Riders' Championship going into this round, but we were supposedly challenged to beat him, which of course makes zero sense. A bit of movement further behind. Masia actually jumps ahead of Artigas and Sasaki, which makes sense, to be fair. I mean, the top 5 in the championship, we have been the top 5 riders basically most of the season. Masia has had some off races, I mean, so have I, but Masia has been generally up there compared to those other AI. Like, you've had Artigas was good at the start of the season, but he's definitely dropped off, and Sasaki had a sort of a good flourish in the middle, although they are all very close, only 2 points separating them, so that battle for 5th could go right to the wire. As for the Teams Championship then, there is no change at all. Obviously the gaps have probably changed, but it doesn't seem like there's any changes in position. And to be honest, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to move up at all. I can't see us gaining, what, 30 points back on the MTA team, and I can't really see us losing 30 either to Intact GP as long as I score relatively well in the next few rounds. So hopefully we should have brought home 6th place for Vision Track Racing, because it's probably the worst team. If you looked at the bike at the start of the season, it was the worst team that we could pick in terms of the bike performance. So 6th in the Teams Championship would be pretty good for it, actually. But there you go then, the Malaysian Grand Prix is complete. A very good race, I really enjoyed it, so hopefully you guys did as well. And to be honest, it was a track where the AI finally weren't crazy. Like, they were really bad, you saw how much time they were losing on their brakes, so that shouldn't happen, but they were actually keeping on the track this time. They weren't cutting corners, so it just made it more enjoyable because they were just actually battling you for real. They weren't just running off everywhere, which obviously does ruin it. Obviously the weakness on the brakes is pretty bad, but hopefully it was a bit of a better race. So we may as well head back to the career hub now, see if we get any social media messages. We might actually get one from Masia because we did just run him in the back at one point and he might not be very happy about that one. And then of course see what reputation we get as well, because of course another 2nd place is going to boost our reputation up a little bit further. So we gained 1,900 RP then because we only got the top 10 finish. That was the only objective that we really met. We didn't get a race win or anything, so no bonus for a podium, which is a bit of a shame, but it is a step closer to being remarkable. So we actually got 2 social media messages, one from Ortola and one from Holgado, but none from Masia seemingly, which is strange because I thought he'd be annoyed because we actually hit him. But interestingly enough, actually, one of them is from Malaysia and one's from Qatar. I hadn't noticed that before. So Holgado's is from Malaysia. I tried to keep Biker behind me. I saw the times on the table. At the finish, I closed in front, so that went well. We have to continue to work like this if we want to stay in front. So fair play to Holgado. I'll actually give him some props because he did really well. His pace was fantastic. I know obviously I handicapped myself, but to be fair, at another track, well, if he was as fast as Masia, I'd have beaten him. He was just genuinely quicker, so races are like that. Okay, so it didn't go well, but the team and I will try and pick ourselves up again for the next race. So we'll be positive towards Holgado, and then Ortola is just kind of hating on us here. He says, I hate riders who have no humility. I see that Biker is talking like they've won 10 World Championships. Maybe a bit of humiliation at Losail will take them down a peg or two. Well, probably over the course of different MotoGP game career modes, I'll probably have won 10 World Championships, so it's probably not completely untrue. But Ortola really doesn't like us very much, so yeah, I guess we kind of have to bite back because it's a negative comment, but it would be nice to be okay with him, but there's only 2 rounds left, so we may as well just trash him even more. So now I really have to thrash you because he's kind of just seeked us out for no reason there. We didn't really do anything. We got second place. We did a good job, but obviously he doesn't like us because we had some incidents earlier on in the season. But there you go then, guys. That is the Malaysian Grand Prix finish. Only 2 more rounds now in this Moto3 Championship, and I'm going to try and bring them out as quickly as possible. Sometimes there has been a bit of a gap between episodes, so I do apologise for that one, but I'm going to try and bring the last couple out as quick as I can, and then hopefully we'll finally be done with Moto3 and we can start moving on to Moto2. But like I said before, hopefully you did enjoy that one. If you are new to the channel, please do like the video and subscribe. It really helps me out, and of course you'll get to see more MotoGP 23 game content in your subscription feed, so it is a win-win for both of us. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you'll stay safe, and I shall see you in the next one.